This is Multimedia Plus online television news with me, Eustace Victor Jones. Hello to you and welcome to the program. Our top stories for this edition: Liberals Brotherhood donates the sum of 100 billion leones to the Emergency Operations Center. The treason accused Alfred Paulo Conte bursts into tears whilst delivering his testimony in court. Now, Community Health Foundation donates 40 intensive care unit beds to the Ministry of Health and Sanitation. Managing Director of Street Child Sierra Leone, Kelfala Kagbo, pleads with government to give more attention to street children. And also, to come in sport, there are signs of potential expansion in national field hockey. We would hear from the National Public Relations Officer later on in the program. Now, as usual, all of these stories will be featured in today's edition of Multimedia Plus online TV news. Stay with me. We kick rolling this edition of Multimedia Plus online TV news with a very first story. Now, as part of its 22nd year anniversary celebrations, the Liberals Brotherhood has donated a check of 35 million leones and other medical and food items to the Emergency Operations Center. Now, the gesture is to aid in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic in Sierra Leone. As Multimedia's MMC Rebecca Kamara reports, the estimated worth of items donated is about 100 billion leones.
The items were donated to the Yams Farm and Frabe College COVID-19 quarantine facilities. Provision worth over 35 million leones were distributed among a list of other items, including face masks and some boxes of medication to patients in the facilities. Monies were raised by members of the fraternities Elder Council, both home and abroad. Alhaji Abu Kome is the national coordinator of the Liberals Elders Council. Mr. Kome pledged the fraternities continued support to the government of Sierra Leone to ensure that COVID-19 is conquered.
Celebrating our fallen heroes and praying for all nations. This is against the backdrop that we have lost so many of our members in the course of our existence, and all over the world, people are dying from COVID-19. Sometime on the soils of Frabe College, there used to be a group called the Council of Radical Elites. This body later transformed and established Liberals on June 8, 1998. It was formed to maximize the welfare of students and to teach them strong and effective leadership. Over the years, Liberals has prepared its members for leadership and service in every sphere of life. And this is demonstrated in the fact that our members work for the public and private sectors, NGOs, business establishments, international organizations, and in a wide range of other careers. At a time like this, when the world is plagued with COVID-19 pandemic, we recognize that it is not time for pleasure, but it is time for serious action to face the pressure our beloved country Sierra Leone is dealing with. On the occasion of our 22nd anniversary, we are taking the bold step to ask not what our country can do for us, but what we can do for our country. Consequently, we are using this period to respond to the call of the President, retired Brigadier Julius Maradio, and the people of Sierra Leone to support the fight against COVID-19. We recognize the efforts of the government of Sierra Leone, frontline workers, development partners, and all Sierra Leoneans who have supported the fight against COVID-19 in diverse ways. Today, we are pleased to announce that we have deposited 35 million leones in the government of Sierra Leone COVID-19 account, and we are also providing the following items to the FBC and Yamsam community care centers. Medical drugs and other medical supplies to the amount of 18 million leones, food items and provisions to the amount of 30 million leones, sanitary and cleaning items amounting to 6 million leones, production of face masks, 3 million leones, and of course other expenses which we have incurred in the process of this Liberals intervention to the amount of 8 million leones.
Many organizations at home and abroad have all been placing hands on deck in the fight against COVID-19 in Sierra Leone, not least social and intellectual clubs like the Libres Brotherhood of recent. He is the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Head of Risk Communication at the Emergency Operations Center, Solomon Jamiru. Mr. Jamiru said contact tracing is a core function in the work as surveillance officer, one that will continue to intensify through the administrative journey against the pandemic.
Interventions. Your friends are the ones who will show up when they are needed. And that is exactly what the liberals have done. Once it moved beyond China and started hitting other continents, we revised our protocol, and that was the time when, if you're coming to Sierra Leone from any country that has registered 50 or more positive cases, then we have to subject you to mandatory quarantine. We continue to deploy resources in surveillance because for us, contact tracing is a core function of surveillance. We continue to deploy strength. We continue to test those who need to be tested. And other important pillars across the broad spectrum of the operations, from surveillance to case management, from quarantine to security, from risk communication to social mobilization, we continue to intensify the fight against coronavirus.
He concluded by thanking the Libres Brotherhood, healthcare worker, and paid tribute to the 51 people who have been lost to the pandemic. The coronavirus pandemic left everyone trembling in their boots. The terror unleashed is quite astonishing. In the wake of recent events and developments in the country, many have criticized the manner in which patients in quarantine homes are treated. But the head of quarantine management, National Coronavirus Emergency Response Center, retired Lieutenant Colonel Amadou Abubakar Koma, think otherwise. Multimedia Plus Online News. Memesi Rebecca Kamara reporting.
We are moving on. Now, similarly, joining hands in the fight against the C-19 pandemic, an international non-governmental organization, Community Health Foundation, based in Mile 91, has donated 40 intensive care unit beds and other assorted medical equipment to the Ministry of Health and Sanitation. Now, from U Building in Freetown, Memesi Rebecca Kamara reports.
Expanding coverage from Mile 91, where it operates, Community Health Foundation has donated some medical equipment to the Ministry of Health to aid in the fight against COVID-19. The Minister of Health and Sanitation, Dr. Alpha Tijan Wuri, commended the organization for its gesture. Dr. Wuri said the government and other organizations not given a helping hand to the ministry, it will have not been able to tackle the pandemic.
During the Ebola scourge, we had people from every part of the world coming to give us support. This time, I don't want to say we are on our own, but for most of the time we have to think and do things by ourselves. And it has created a major change in this country for people to make effort to do things by themselves. The Muxin family have demonstrated that by even thinking of creating the Canadian College of Technology at Mile 91. Eland, I never thought they would have a tertiary institution, but it was good to know and see it grow regularly. And now, my lady Linda demonstrates that they are a family that wants to give back, a family that wants to support this country. ICU beds are critical, are vital. We have only one ICU, full-fledged ICU unit in the country at Connaught Hospital. As Dr. Taki has said, we are creating special baby care units. Not all districts do have that now. And that is already a high dependency unit. But we need to have an ICU ward in every major hospital of this country. At least 6 beds.
Jacob Sachs Conte, whilst reading the written message from the Chief Executive Officer of Community Health Foundation, Linda Muxin Sise, who owing to ongoing the traveling bans could attend the ceremony, said the rationale of the donation is to improve healthcare services in Sierra Leone.
My name is Linda Muxin Sise. and I currently live in Maryland in the United States. I'm a healthcare professional and the CEO and founder of Community Health Foundations. But despite the progress I've made in progression here in the United States, I remain a Sierra Leonean. I grew up in Sierra Leone and know that the people of our homeland are desperate for improved healthcare services. I have decided to dedicate myself to helping to improve the lives of other Sierra Leoneans in the country, fight against COVID-19, which all of us at home and abroad have a patriotic duty to help. Our goal is to help Sierra Leoneans by improving quality healthcare service with the help of our partners. Together, we can make Sierra Leone a healthier, happier place. Since this is a collaborative effort, I cannot name all my team members whom I appreciate for all their dedication. However, I want to first of all thank the Minister of Health for allowing us to bring this shipment with a waiver.
Meanwhile, Sierra Leone's Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Donald Bashtaki, said the health sector is facing a lot of challenges in terms of insufficient outpatient facilities, limited nurses to work in intensive care units, amongst a list of other issues. Multimedia Plus online television, Teresa Thomas reporting.
All right, we are moving on with the program. Please be reminded that you are viewing content from Multimedia Plus online television with me, Eustace Victor Jones. The managing director of Street Child Sierra Leone, Kelfala Kagbo, has told Multimedia Plus that it's high time government intensified its level of interaction and focus towards street children in Sierra Leone through the National Street Child Policy. Mr. Kagbo had earlier been voicing his concerns over the issue to our reporter, Teresa Thomas.
Much have been done since the outbreak of COVID-19. What Street Child have done as an organization is to collaborate with the ministry, mainly with the Ministry of Gender, and we've worked with them throughout the two lockdowns that we've had. We provided food, hot meal to street-connected children, and hot meals also to very, very vulnerable people, especially people who were on the streets and then living entirely on the streets. We provided them with hot meals. But over and above providing hot meals during this lockdown period, as an organization, what we've been able to do is to mobilize our staffs across the country and across different communities to promote the awareness of COVID-19 and what to do and what not to do to avoid contracting the virus. There's so much that we face. Currently, as a member of the Consortium for Street Children in Sierra Leone, what we are doing, or one of the biggest challenges we face, is mainstreaming the issues of street children into government work, either into government policies or into government approach. And we're very happy that the Ministry of Gender is the minister that we have currently, she's very, very much focused on the issues of street children. So together we've been working, but that's the biggest challenge, to get government or to get other organizations interested in the issues of street-connected children. We have so many organizations in Sierra Leone, but very few are really focusing on street-connected children. We carry that children love being on the street. There are always a push factor. Until organization, until parents, until the government can look into these individual problems and identify what's the push factor. No one could just leave his or her house and then jump into the street just for nothing. There must have been problems in the house, either too much of fighting within the parents, too much of domestic labor, hunger. So many things would have pushed the child to go up to the street. And so until we as duty bearers because NGOs are duty bearers, the government is a duty bearer.
He is the managing director of Street Child Sierra Leone, Kelfala Kagbo, speaking there to Multimedia's Theresa Thomas. Still to come on the program, the treason accused Alfred Paulo Conte bursts into tears whilst delivering his testimony in court. And also to come in sport, there are signs of potential expansion in national field hockey. We would hear from the National Public Relations Officer later on in the program.
Production on the beat. Multimedia Plus, number one at the country. Multimedia Plus, beyond creativity that now we mission. Multimedia Plus, we they bring to you so much quality. Multimedia Plus, number one, yeah. Quality video we there, photo shoot, voice over we there, jingle and soundtrack we there, documentary, podcast we there, market and sales, audio production sell we there. Don't forget to Tapokana Multimedia Leash. Welcome to the land of creativity. Yeah, at the bongo bluff with me beauty. Yeah. You see me photo, see quality. If you see me video, see quality. If you listen me music, see quality. You go feel say na magic. See quality. Number 2 come with 6 na the place. Yes. After sabiti the customer the way.
Now, Justice Momoja Stevens has ruled against the no-case submission tendered by the defense team in the ongoing treason trial between the state versus Alfred Paulo Conte. Now, the accused, Alfred Paulo, was seen crying in court on Friday, 19th June, a revelation which has driven many into a state of utter sympathy. Our legal reporter, Fatmata Binta Jallo, now brings us up to speed regarding the matter.
The lead defense counsel, Abdullahi Okonte, told members of the jury that at the CCTV footage on what happened on the day the first accused visited State House, then the matter would have been resolved. He went to State House to answer a national call towards the fight against COVID-19 pandemic, and now he is before the court to answer for its treason charge, Abdullahi Okonte said. Whilst giving his testimony, retired Major Alfred Paulo Conte said he had served the military for 16 years. In 2007, he was a defense minister. And from 2014, December 2015, he was assigned to lead the fight against the Ebola epidemic. He was also appointed as Minister of Internal Affairs from March 2015 to November 2017. In early 2018, he was moved to the Defense Ministry to occupy the ministerial position till the elections. He told the court that he needed a personal weapon to protect himself because he had no security personnel after the elections, which was unusual, and that he had been attacked before. Continuing his testimony, he said on Monday 16th March was when he visited State House, and on 12 midday, he received a call from JJ Safa, Minister of Finance, inviting him to a meeting on behalf of the President. On the same day at 3 p.m., he was told that the meeting was in relation to COVID-19, and he was asked whether he will be willing to attend, and he said yes. He said he was excited to meet the President for 2 reasons. Firstly, recognition of his hard work in the past government. Secondly, COVID-19 is a pandemic that is sweeping the whole world, so he thought it would help his country in his own little way. He said he got to State House at about 2:30 p.m. for the 3 p.m. meeting. At the main gate of State House, they took my name and waved me in, he said. Paulo said that he had drove to the car park to look for a slot to park his car. He found himself a parking slot and parked his car. He looked around and he didn't see no one in the car park. He had his brown leather bag containing his Glock 17. Because the car park was quiet, he decided to drop his bag on the seat at the back, as the back windows of his car are tinted. He said he went on to the reception area and went to the security desk, and his name was ticked off in the paper they had. He said he was directed to go upstairs in the 2nd floor. He met another set of security at the 2nd floor, and that is where His Excellency office is. He was directed to go to the office of the Chief of State Protocol to wait until the President was ready for the meeting to commence. After some time of waiting, he was told to go to the conference room. There were a host of personalities that were also invitees of the president. Ministry of Health, Chief Minister, etc. were among, and the other guys that worked with him at the Ebola Response Center. Few minutes later, the president was waved in and the meeting commenced. The president told him that he invited him and his colleagues to share his experience and was asked to make a statement. He said he made only 2 points. 1, he commended the efforts of the president in inviting him and the Ebola team. Secondly, he assured the president that he will give his usual 110% without any consideration, salary or wages. The president, in concluding, gave a number of directives. Firstly, Ministry of Health should convey a meeting of all the stakeholders present at that meeting. Secondly, a draft strategy and policy to be ready in 48 hours. Paulo said that the Minister of Health requested them to meet at UU Building the following day, and they left State House and drove home. He said the meeting made headline on the news, and he received so many phone calls, some in support and few against his decision. But he stuck to his decision to serve his country. He further explained that on Tuesday, 17th March, he attended the meeting at Ministry of Health, and the plan started for the COVID-19. He went to the Freetown Airport by a boat provided by the Ministry of Health to put in place protocols with regards to disembarking passengers visiting Sierra Leone. Secondly, he went to the airport hotel where passengers were quarantined who were complaining through social media about the amenities of the hotel. He said he was later joined by the Chief Minister, and they returned to Freetown at about 8 p.m. He said no food was provided, but he considered it to be a national call. On Thursday, 19th March, he received a call from Major Taluva, former Chief of Staff at the National Ebola Response Center, that the draft document as requested by the President was ready for presentation, and that a meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. with the President at State House. Paulo said that he drove himself to State House, got to State House about 8:30 a.m. At the main gate, his name was ticked off a list, and they drove to the car park. At the car park, he saw 4 or 5 young men who started chasing his vehicle. One of them said, "Come park Naya," and he did. He got off his car and one of them said to him, "Please sir, we want wash your motor car." He nodded for them to wash his car. He said because of their presence around his car, he took a decision that it does not make sense for him to leave his bag unattended to. He took his brown bag, locked his car and proceeded to State House. He got to the reception area at State House. He did not put his bag on the scanner. He walked by the side of the metal detector, heading straight for the security desk. He said that no one accosted him, no challenged him, and no one said a word to him. He got to the security desk, and a man and a woman were seated. He held his bag and said to one of the officers to keep his bag for him. And one of them said, "No sir, go with your bag upstairs." And he commented, No, this bag contains my personal weapon." The bag was taken off him with no alarm raised at that moment. He said that no security personnel and no one intercepted him. No one confronted him. It was at this juncture that he burst into tears and the judge asked for a break. Some members of the public also joined him in tears. The judge advised him not to be emotional. He continued that he got to the second floor and a set of security personnel directed him to the State Chief of Staff protocol to wait for the president. Major General Taluva, Mr. Sidi Yaya Tunis, and Mr. Stephen Gauja were among those in the waiting room. About an hour later, Lieutenant Posua walked in clutching his brown handbag in the company of 1 female and 3 or 4 males. Superintendent M.K. Ali was among. Posua then said to him, "Please, sir, now you bag this?" And Paulo said yes, that it was his. And Posua said that there is a weapon in his bag, and Paulo replied that it is his personal weapon, and that he voluntarily declared it at the reception, and that was why he left it downstairs. Paulo said that Posua then took out the magazine and counted the number of rounds in the magazine. The count was 10 rounds in the magazine, and Paulo said that he had licensed for it. Whilst Posua was holding the bag, he unzipped the side of the bag and he brought out a valid license issued by the Small Arms Commission to carry the Glock 17. The license was valid from March 2020 to March 2021. Colonel Posua then said, "Le anosiam na social media to the others," and Posua told him he will not be attending the meeting and that he will be interviewed by the CID. Colonel Posua handed over the bag, the magazine containing the 10 rounds and the pistol to MK Aliu. It was taken to one of the offices at State House. The allegation was unlawful possession of firearms. After the interview, he was released to go home. He jumped into his car and left the grounds of State House, disappointed and deflated of what had happened. Paulo continued that at around 5 p.m. on the same day, while he was home, Superintendent MK Aliu called him that he should return to CID to pick up his weapon and card. He drove to the CID, he met him and they left him on one of the offices and went to another office. After about 10 minutes, he came back and said to him that they will not release his bag and weapon until after talking to the Inspector General of Police. On Friday, 28th of March 2020, at about lunchtime, Major Alfred Paulo Conte said that Superintendent MK Aliu called him and inquired where he was, and Paulo replied that he was home. Superintendent Aliu then said, "I'm outside your gate." He said since he got no security personnel, he then proceeded to open the gate. MK Aliu then came in with the vehicle, and there was a second vehicle with armed OSD personnel. MK Aliu showed him to what looked like a search warrant. MK Aliu and two others in plain clothes searched his address. After a thorough search of all the rooms, nothing was found of police interest. After the search, his personal computer was taken away from him, and Detective MK Aliu invited him to CID headquarters. "I agreed and drove to the CID," Paulo said. He was interviewed and the allegation was unlawful possession of a firearm. After the interview had concluded, MK Aliu whipped out an arrest warrant and he was locked up at the CID for the night. The next day, he was moved to the Central Prison, Spademba Road. The next interview was on the 24th of March and an allegation was put forward, and it was on firearms offenses. It continued that another interview was conducted on the 26th of March, and the allegation was on small arms offenses and treasonable offenses. "My response to the treasonable offenses was God forbid," Paulo said. The final interview was on the 29th March 2020, and the same allegation was put to him, and he responded that they were baseless and untrue. "I have no grudge, animosity whatsoever towards the president," Paulo mentioned. He said from the 20th of March till now, he is still in prison. "I had no intention whatsoever to assassinate the president. How can I have a Glock 17 pistol as against all the AK-47 at State House? That's mental. I would have been dead 100 times over, even if I had succeeded," Paulo said. He denies all the allegations put forward. He said that his gun wasn't loaded, and he said that he is convinced that his pistol was not loaded because of two reasons. One, he never allowed the magazine to go fully into the magazine compartment. Both pistols do not have the normal safety catch. That is Glock 17 and 21. A weapon is only loaded when you cocked and the round goes into the chamber. He said he feels distraught, disappointed, deflated, disillusioned. It was at this juncture that Honorable Momoja Stevens adjourned the matter for the prosecution to go prepare themselves for the cross-examinations. For Multimedia Plus Online Television, Fatmata Binta Jallo reporting.
Now let's now take our usual health sensitization tips, even as we continue to take preventive measures to keeping ourselves quite safe from the novel coronavirus pandemic.
There is a global outbreak of a new coronavirus disease that is rapidly spreading to a number of countries around the world. Common signs and symptoms include cough, fever, shortness of breath, and difficulty in breathing. In severe cases, complications include pneumonia, and kidney failure may occur and possibly leads to death if left untreated. Everyone is at risk of getting this disease. The virus is spread through droplets produced during coughing or sneezing by a sick person. You can get the disease if you are in close contact with a person who has the disease or infected animals and animal products. Travel to areas affected by the outbreak is a risk to getting infected. To protect yourself and others, wash your hands frequently with soap and water or use alcohol-based hand rubs. Cook your meat products and eggs thoroughly. If you are infected, prevent spreading the disease by covering your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing with flexed elbow or tissue, and wash your hands immediately after. If you suspect that you or a member of your family or anybody has the coronavirus, you should immediately seek medical care at the nearest health facility. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and the ZNPHI with support from partners.
The sporting discipline of field hockey seems to be gaining momentum in Sierra Leone. This has seen a drastic rise in the number of players in the national team. But in the wake of recent improvements, the public relations officer of the Sierra Leone Hockey Association, Samuel Sambo, has asked that the government provide them with a land that will see to the construction of a national hockey stadium. Mr. Sambo has been speaking to my colleague, Anthony Vente.
Hockey at Syke Street, then we have Central Hockey, it is within the city center, and we have emerging leaders at Fobi. Then we also have iPad Hockey, they are at Ferry Junction by Kisi Dockyard. So far so good. These are the 5 active clubs that are playing field hockey here in Sierra Leone. So we do that tour visitation within the city for them to see exactly the pitches that we use to train and how we train and how we play the sport. Because, you know, when we are talking about field hockey, it is somehow tough a little bit because it is not that common like football. Because the things that we used to play, they are much expensive. When you talk about the ball, you talk about the stick. You know, the stick, it's about $100, and we don't have those things within the country. So unless we get donors from out there who send us those things for us to train. So by that, they find out about our challenges that we are going through here in Sierra Leone. You know, of course, during their visits, we do a test match at SS camp, which they also witnessed. So from there, they took a lot of photos, a lot of interviews with stakeholders within the club, the players, you know. So when they go back, but before they go back, they made a promise to us that they are going to help us to promote the sports in this country. Of land that we are asking for, actually, the pitch itself, we need 3 acres. But you know, we cannot just build a pitch without a car park, without hostels, without all those other facilities that a pitch needed. So that is why I round the figure up to 5 acres. If we have the 5 acres, believe you me, we'll have one of the best hockey pitch in Africa as a whole.
Okay, so
yeah, it's everything, and I think if we want to do anything, we have to pass through the government. And believe you me, I'm saying this with all my mind and with all seriousness that the government of Sierra Leone need to focus into these projects because one, it's going to create a job facility for Sierra Leoneans. Secondly, it's going to create something that we bring income into the country and a transformation because, you know, we are not good in football. Trust me, I can say this because, you know, as you two can attest to that, we are not too good in terms of playing football. But
that was the public relations officer of the Sierra Leone Hockey Association, Samuel Sambo, ending that interview with my colleague Anthony Vente. Well, that's all we have time for in today's news broadcast here on Multimedia Plus online television news. But before we go, here is a round-off of our top stories. Liberals Brotherhood donates the sum of 100 billion leones to the Emergency Operations Center. The treason accused Alfred Paulo Conte bursts into tears whilst delivering his testimony in court. Now, Community Health Foundation donates 40 intensive care unit beds to the Ministry of Health and Sanitation. Managing Director of Street Child Sierra Leone, Kelfala Kagbo, pleads with the government to give more attention to street children. And also to come in sport. There are signs of potential expansion in national field hockey. We would hear from the National Public Relations Officer later on in the program. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your time with us. Do not forget to subscribe to our Multimedia Plus online television channel for more updates, news broadcasts, programs and interviews. We are also on Facebook at Multimedia Plus. Please visit, like and share our page in case you haven't done so. I have been Eustace Victor Jones. Thanks very much for watching the news. Ta-ta.